Maybe they'll sync up, and I won't have to fight as hard.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
All right.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So I guess this is the pilot episode of the Freak Savage show.
Number 1, The Freak Savage, episode 1.
Which I've been billing it for weeks on the lives and stuff, and been telling everybody that, like, everything that we're going to do. Episode 1, obviously, we're going to sit here and talk about what we're going to do on the show and give a little background history for those who don't know us and know our background and everything. Mm-hmm. So, but like, let's see here. I guess to start it off, like what we currently are doing now, because that's one of the number one questions we get asked all the time. Who are we?
We're us.
Who are we and what do we do for a living?
we're us. Yeah. Well, I mean, currently for me, I am, I guess what you would call the face of the gym right now.
Yeah, I'm not the face anymore.
Yeah. I'm the face.
But Chris is the pretty one. You got to remember that.
I got to remember that one. Yeah, he's a pretty one. But yeah, I'm just a face of the gym. I run the gym, and do everything I can do down there to make everything run smooth here.
Like together, we own and operate a gym here in our small town. And we both, what we call, model and act on the side. I can officially say I have acted because I do have an IMBD. Thank you very much. I've been in indie films, so screw y'all to that one.
I have not, and probably will not. So, yeah.
But let's see here with the podcast. Because we're just going to do what we've done with everything else and just tie it all in together. We're going to talk about health. We're going to talk about our health journeys, the things, the do's and don'ts, the things that we've experienced, the things that we've done through trials and tribulations to get to where we are now.
Yeah, we could have like
that could be a whole series in itself.
I was going to say that could be 30 different episodes of, this is what you do for celiacs, for fitness for perimenopause women, for fitness for men around 50, for fitness for people with chronic disease like
menopause.
Menopause,
the
nutrition.
Things they don't tell you that's going to happen. Like liver failure, kidney failure.
Some of the things they don't tell you about chronic pain, and they can never really tell you everything about chronic pain because it just kind of everybody's got their own little demon when it comes to that.
But everybody always says that, like, you don't understand, your pain's different from mine, or the one I get, you don't understand because you just don't hurt as bad as I do.
and then it'll hurt as bad as me. Okay, whatever. Look, because what this has turned into, if anybody follows the social media of the gym, is turned into rant week. I don't know how that happened.
And that's not negating anybody's experience or pain, because like everybody experiences things differently.
Yeah, and you've never hurt as bad as
you never
the
think
most hurtful thing
else,
until you've gotten there.
Yeah, you never think nobody else hurts as bad as you do. But that's just as asinine, in my opinion, to think that your pain's always going to be worse than the next person's next to you. Your circumstances is always going to be worse than the next person, or to think that you're always the one that's the worst completely devalidates anybody else's experience.
Yeah, well, it's that ego thing. It's that I have to be. There's no way.
I'm the star of my own story.
Yeah. There's no way that they can operate if they was under what I was under. And all that is just covering for somebody else's shortfalls. And this brief interruption is brought to you by Wednesday, the pain in the ass cat. Like, has to come in and drink one sip of water and eat 2 bites of food and then go to the door and sound like she's dying.
And completely protest if her water bottle is not fresh tap water.
But no, what I was saying was that when you do that, whenever you go, there's no way that they can do what they're doing if they was in as much pain as I am. That just totally negates everything that whoever you're talking about is doing. And it also, in some kind of weird, sick way, you're trying to validate your shortcomings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, we don't listen to that at the gym. We don't listen to that from our children. We don't listen to that from the people around us, because it's very arrogant to stroll up to somebody that you really don't know, that you're really not around all the time, because with chronic pain or a chronic disease, if you're not around them all the time, you don't really know what's happening.
It's the same thing with a marriage. You don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
This is the biggest thing with social media, because people fall in love with these creator types or even fake accounts. That the biggest thing that I'm seeing now is these Instagram models that are using AI to take a picture of themselves at home, but AI has gotten so good that if they position everything just right, AI will just put them on a beach in Maui or on a private jet or a luxury hotel room that costs more than they'll ever make in their lives. And they're making money off of people by putting this false facade up there. And again, it's what they're putting in the public face versus what you're actually seeing behind closed doors and what's going on.
It's like the fitness influencers. What I eat in a day, bullshit.
20-something years old, never had kids. Yeah, don't have a job, don't have a career. You were the high school head cheerleader, and now you got an Instagram and want to talk about how great your butt is.
Or, like I said, what I eat in a day.
Have a couple of kids and then come back and talk to me about that shit.
I eat 3 eggs, 2 avocados, 4 pieces of turkey bacon, and I low carb it up, and then my lunch, it's all garbage, because nobody eats like that every day, all day. Now, we follow the 80-20 rule.
Mm-hmm.
We're 80%, we're good. 20%, we're not.
Ink Flow comes in town. I live for that week, y'all. Live for that week. I have all the carbs. I don't need them. And I am strategic with them. Like we do the sourdough and stuff like that.
Try to stay pretty good. But you also got to live. And this is our philosophy at the gym is, live to train, train to live. And which is kind of turned into the train to live is more of the philosophy, because what we talk about with our clients, our
body at motion stays at motion, body at rest stays at rest.
And it's, look, we realize that you have a life and a job outside of the hour you spend at the gym. And as trainers, if we destroy you for 45 minutes and you can't, you fall off the toilet the next day.
You say what you want to. I'll just bleep out what I have to.
Okay, you fall off the fucking toilet the next day.
We're keeping it real. We're keeping it real with this shit.
Yeah, you fall off the toilet and you can't operate. And we have nurses, we have restaurateurs, we have grandmothers, just people that have lives. And so that's where that philosophy of train to live. Mm-hmm. And it goes right into the 80-20 thing with the eating. So
I came up with that one 10 years ago.
Yes, you did. No. So the whole fitness influencer that
people kept asking us why we were opening a gym. Why are you doing that? Why are you opening a gym? Why are you opening a gym here? Yes, where we opened our gym in our little podunk town of Simpson County, Mississippi, we did not open it to come rich overnight. Had we done that, I can promise you would have been somewhere else other than our hometown. But our overall consensus was whenever we made changes in our lives, which is what we'll get to here in just a second, that brought us to this, is what people coming to us going, oh, you look so good. What are you doing? Because I was over 220 pounds. You were over 300 pounds. Yeah. And you were all broken up from your injury. And I was sick and constantly in the hospital from an unknown disease at the time. And we made some life changes separately and independently. We weren't together at the time. And when we did get together, things we built on each other, and people saw the changes and the strides they were making, and they were like, what are you doing? And we tell them what we do. And a lot of people in our area live and work in our area. Like they don't commute. And most decent gyms are 45 minutes away. Now, there's a couple of other competitors in our area, and we all have our different perspectives on fitness, and we all have different things that we offer within our facilities. And most people that live in one area of the county are not going to travel to our area of the county to go to the gym. So we're not going to get those customers. So there's really no competition between the three of us or four of us anytime. They're big box now, so they don't count. They're not privately owned. But the overall thing is, oh, well, I don't have access to that. Because at the time, none of the gyms in the area were open 24/7.
No, they wasn't.
Other than Anytime Fitness, and nobody would go to Anytime because of 2-year contracts and $500 sign-on fees.
Yeah.
But
we were the first 24-hour
we were
gym.
the first 24-hour access gym, like actual gym. And so that was the biggest thing is people would always say, I don't have access to this. I don't have access to that. And it's that whole entrepreneur philosophy of, see a need, fill a need.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was the same with the training. We never set out to be personal trainers.
Nope.
Never. We didn't want to do it. Our experience with personal trainers was
we wanted a turnkey business that we could just operate and collect revenue.
Yeah, our experience with personal trainers was the Russian guy that was overweight that wore the jorts. And
I could not do ab day if he was in there training because I'm laid down and I'm looking and all I see is Easter eggs.
Yeah. So, and he wasn't doing it on purpose. It was just, that's the way he was.
I felt so bad. And I got the giggles. I know I got the giggles. And he called me out on it. And I told him, I said, yep. I said, you're right. I said, we are getting a workout in. I said, but some days when you're here, you make it kind of hard.
And look, and that was our personal experience with personal trainers. My experience with personal trainers goes back to my baseball days. And it was always a very rigid, everyone had a very rigid philosophy. It was do it this way or you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's no cookie cutter workout. There's no cookie cutter diet. There's no cookie cutter routine. You have to find what works for you based on the informative information you have.
Yeah. And so back to what we were saying, like that experience and then people asking us about personal training. Mm-hmm. We went from
training people in our garage.
Well, we got a gym in a big building now. Fuck it. I guess we'll personal train. and both.
Because we had so many people coming to us.
Both educated ourselves and then just went from there. And, some days we got a lot of clients. Some days some months we don't.
Some months sales is sales. Yeah. Some months are better than others.
So it was that whole entrepreneurial see a need, fill a need. We saw a need, we filled it. Sometimes I question our gung-ho-ness on some of that filling those needs. There is only so much stupid that I can hear in a day before I go.
What he's referring to is the fact he did not realize that opening a business in a small community and becoming a hub, I won't say the hub, becoming a hub of the community. Like when I say a hub, people drive by and if they see our cars there, they will stop in for the sole sake of just stopping in.
Just to shit talk. Yeah.
Just to see how we're doing and to shit talk and just to hang out. Okay. We've had 15 people in there that they were not working out. They just saw our car there and Joke Blow's car there and Jane Smith's car there. And they're like, oh, all the gangs getting together. And we'll have 15 people in there right in the front area because we have this little common area that's got chairs and tables and stuff. And everybody just be sitting around shit talking.
So perfect example this morning. There's the morning crew's in there working out. And our son James, he was doing his homeschool and generally when there's a lot of people in there, I shut the door so we can kind of concentrate. Well, I hear doop, doop, doop. Hey man, hey, can you come out? And I was like, oh crap, something's happened. So yeah, I jumped up and I came out and all it was one of our members wanted to shit talk about a buddy that hadn't been to the gym in a hot minute and then showed up today. And he wanted me out there to hear his shit talk and critique his shit talking on that buddy. And he even told me, he said, I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to listen and tell me where I can get better. And I thought he was going to talk about, lifts or diet or exercise plan or workout or whatever. Nope. He talked about how sorry he was and how he hadn't been in there. And this was his first time in there in 6 months. So we're working on once a year, and just it went off into a tangent. And I was like, all right, well, this is what we're doing.
Oh yeah, like we do have some group of members that we do consider friends now at this point, and we have a little bit of a code, especially in the early morning crew, just to show how much of a community culture we've created with it. Is that when you talk about like ruthless shit talking in the mornings, if you're okay. Some of them, most of them are all either some sort of prior or current military and or felons. And that should just go ahead and set the tone for you to let you know, like, the kind of debauchery that will come out of our mouths.
Oh, we probably would get arrested if we said it in some people's company.
So like, there's this crew that's in there, and it is like, we're ruthless. Like, there is apparently I'm the most ruthless one, as I am called to be thorny. Poetically, Ashton Thorne, right? So,
yeah.
I didn't know it hurt the big guys.
You touched a nerve, apparently, somewhere down the road.
Oh, well. Anyhow, so the stuff that we say, and sometimes everybody will just be on a tangent and just ripping this one and you and ripping that one and you and I mean, it gets ruthless. And I'm surprised we don't hurt people's feelings, but it gets so bad that sometimes whenever other members come in that aren't a part of that particular part of the community, like, because I'm normally closer to the door when I see somebody coming in, and I'll hop up and be like, or holler up and be like, all right, like, people, or
easy now, and then everybody's real
the one that gets everybody's attention, company.
Yeah, and look, and it's all good-hearted. It comes from a place of love. Like, if I didn't love that person, speaking of love, I got baby pictures. Forgot to fucking tell you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She don't look like her daddy, so we're good. That right there. There's a gym member, and he has literally become one of our best friends, and they're having a baby today, and he's as old as I am, and he's just gonna have fun. So anyway, spaced. Oh.
Yeah, starting over at 40.
Yeah. So it all the good-hearted ribbon or shit talking comes from a place of love, and that's why we get away with saying some of the stuff we do. I mean, yesterday, for example,
you can't be around us and be snowflakes.
Yeah, no, but still,
we're not going to go out of our way to be mean, but we're just going to be honest, and a lot of people can't take that honesty.
And we follow it up with, look, okay, this is what you're doing to fuck up. This is how you're screwing it up. This is how you're screwing up your diet. You're eating 1,000 calories. That's way not enough. And yeah, you're miserable. And yeah, you're wanting to do this. So that's stupid. So fix it. This is how you fix it. Like, that's we always come back with, hey, this is how you fix it. Now, for some people it works, some people it don't. The people that it didn't work for, they either ignore us or they go to a different gym.
Or they just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Or they just keep doing what they're doing and don't understand why they're not seeing any results.
New ways to cook potatoes and rice so the carbs fit their diet.
There's that. I love my carbs. So I gotta have it with every meal. Not me. Somebody we know.
Bodies.
Yeah, some bodies. No, you're right.
Bodies.
Right. Or we have the conversation. Do you know the difference between a gram and an ounce whenever you're tracking your food?
That's a total drug dealer conversation.
It is. That sounded like I know the difference between a gram.
Why are you so efficient in grams and ounces, sir?
That is that public school education, and I maxed it out. But no, whenever you go, hey, this food diary don't look right. Do you know the difference between grams and ounces? And they go, what? The next words out of my mouth was, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? Google it. So there's a lot of that.
That's the person that's usually going, well, I don't eat too bad.
Yeah.
But realistically, they're lying to themselves because they think about what they ate. And I will 100% use my mom for an example. My mom will eat stuff, and to an extent, she doesn't eat bad. It's just the amounts that she is or isn't eating aren't the appropriate amounts, and she isn't getting any. Hot dogs do not count as protein for the day when you're already diabetic and obese.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in a pinch and it's just the last thing that you have, then fine. But it's not.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be your go-to.
No, it shouldn't be your go-to.
And people sometimes don't think about the empty calories. Like one girl I saw on Instagram this morning was talking about she started counting calories and she really got serious with it, and she realized that she was basically drinking her day's worth of calories in her little crystal drink, her little crystal light drinks.
Yeah.
She's like, the packets that you put in your flavored drinks? She goes, those, oh my God. Like one of those packets she was using had like 60 or 80 calories in the one packet. And she said, I'll literally go through a box of these in a day.
Jeez, that's a lot.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot.
I hope it's not the one with electrolytes
Yeah.
because, oh Lord, bless her kidneys.
Well, or how about this? Protein bars, which is going to be my rant for tomorrow.
I had to stop eating those.
Well, I mean, food companies got super smart. They took a candy bar, threw protein on it,
And healthy.
and healthy, and
It's that feel-good advertising.
and then they doubled the price because it's got protein and it's healthy.
It's healthy.
If you look at the back of a protein bar and there's more grams of sugar than there are grams of protein, you got a fucking candy bar that you fit to pay $6 for.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's,
When you'd have done better off getting 2 chicken strips.
or just go get the Snickers. I mean, at least you know, hey, I'm eating a candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
You don't trick yourself into thinking, hey, I'm eating healthy. Or a granola bar that's got more syrup in it than the stack of pancakes we ate a couple weeks ago. But it's dressed up in hippie clothes.
I love my pancakes on blood work day
Yeah.
because I have to do it fasted. And so there's this wonderful restaurant in Flowwood where we go and get my blood work done, or it's across the street from the place where I get my blood work done. So we just go over there first thing, have my blood work done by 9 a.m., hop over to the restaurant by the time they're opened up good, and we get these big omelets. It's like 3 or 4 egg omelets, fully loaded, and a stack of pancakes, and I will smash
We
every
eat
bit
and
of
we
it.
don't and we enjoy every minute
Every
of it.
bit of it.
And we don't feel guilty about none of it.
No.
To the point where my blood work didn't have to be fasted that day and I screwed mine up.
Yeah, his was about 100 points lower than we were expecting
And-
it being.
And I had some liver enzymes messed up because of what we ate.
Like, it messed it up so bad that your doctor was like, give it about 2 weeks and then we'll come back and redraw it just to make sure.
And I got a call from one of the nurses and he was like, bro, what'd you eat that morning? Oh, yeah. And then I told him, he was like, never mind. All right, we got it. Okay, you're cool.
So we got to remember that.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time we've done our blood work on the same day. But what got us all down this road of from being a police officer and a security guard?
Yeah.
Security and business executive. Technically, that's what you were.
Yeah,
Technically. So what got us from doing our professional lives to our now professional lives?
Yeah.
So with me, so like it was, I'll short story it up as much as possible because a lot of people don't want to listen to all the tedious details. So I've been sick my whole life. I just didn't know it because there are a certain amount of people, and this is the information that we know now through science that they've only come out with in the last 8 years, 8 to 10 years, I think. That there's a certain amount of people that have a particular gene that if it ever gets switched on, it's on and it is degenerative and it turns into an autoimmune issue. I don't know if you want to call it an autoimmune disease, autoimmune disorder. There has been so many different labels for it over the years. First, they thought it was IBS. Like that was the biggest crock of shit on that. Ulcerative colitis. And then what's the other stomach one? Or just stomach ulcers, just
ulcers.
all of it. I was misdiagnosed so much for so long. And I was on, at the time, which is about 10 and 15 years ago now, what was $800 worth of meds a month. 15 years ago, technically, when it first came out, the Lialda, or that was that one. But prior, I was on like 5 or 6 different meds multiple times a day. By the way, it was not easy to take. I always missed it because if I got tied up on a call at the PD, I couldn't go, like, if I'm on the side of the road with a bad accident, I can't leave.
You can't go, hey, time out, guys. Let me go take my meds.
I gotta go take my meds.
Yeah.
I couldn't go eat a snack because I always had to eat some sort of snack before I took my meds. Otherwise, they would upset my stomach. And then let's not even talk about the days that with what is now called celiacs. With that, I would eat certain foods and I would get an upset stomach anyhow. And food was not going to stay where it was supposed to. It was coming one direction or the other, which is horrible. But at the time, I was on $800 worth of meds just to keep me alive. I was in and out of hospitals. My gallbladder had shut down. And at my peak of all of this, I was over 220 pounds after my last pregnancy when I had James, our youngest now, who's 14. And I had trouble getting the weight off. And I got sick. And my doctor changed my diet. And I started getting better from there. That's about the time my gallbladder shut down. And everybody picked at me about it. Was saying, because the gallbladder, its primary function is excess bile and to help break down high fatty foods and stuff. So it's like a second stomach. Mm-hmm. But they joked, I got picked on because I was trying to eat as healthy as I possibly could. And they were like, well, you're just not using it enough. You need to eat more fat. Looking back on it, what we know now, not too far off.
No, not too far.
But
not too far
I just wasn't eating the right fatty foods. And I wasn't eating horrible. I was eating a traditional Southern diet. And I did try not to eat as much fried food as possible. But by the time, you add the corn and the peas and the sugar in the peas. And
just the Southern diet.
It's the Southern diet. Lord,
where
love
portion size, that's a portion of rice. Nah, bitch, that's a portion of rice.
Well, you think about it too, coming from a family that's got some Creole descendants. We love our gumbo. We love our etouffee. And it is rice.
Yeah.
And I don't even talk about boudin. I'm making boudin with my daddy growing up. So it was a diet consisting of everything that I didn't need to eat because my body won't process it anymore. And that is what led me down the research. Like I have, the Mayo Clinic, I subscribe to their YouTube. By the way, a lot of these universities and places like that have YouTube channels that when they have new publications, like where a scientist or a doctor gets up and they're talking about the new research, they'll do a conference. So, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like a TED Talk conference.
Not a TED presentation.
Yeah. Or lecture.
Lecture. That's the word. I'm sorry.
Is that the word?
That's the word, lecture.
See, that's my other job, is to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, because my neurospicy gets in the way sometimes. So I'm actually really smart, even though sometimes I don't sound like it. Like Sophia. What's the word?
So you went from that and PD.
So while I was PD, trying to get my shit together, trying to get healthy, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, I started doing all my own research. And so between that and Harvard University, and there was another one, I forget the name of it now because I haven't logged on to them in so long at this point. But I just started doing as much research as I could find. And that's one of the days, and it was Harvard that put it out, I think, that they were talking about this new stomach issue that they've been finding that was a gluten protein intolerance. And one of the things that stuck out to me, they were like, they have inconsistencies with all of their patients at different levels of intolerancies of different things. Like all of them are diagnosed with the celiacs, which they have found markers in the blood to say it's not IBS, it's not ulcerative colitis, it's this, which they found consistencies in all these patients' blood work to say this is a new disease and we're studying it and this is what we're finding. And then their findings, they found that basically it was a toxin intolerance and a gluten to protein intolerance. Mm-hmm. And so basically anything that is synthetic and processed, our bodies aren't going to process. It is going to find a way to eject it somehow, whether it's through expulsion, fevers, sweats, whatever the circumstances, which was every symptom I was having. And it causes a lot of inflammation in the body. It causes a lot of lethargicness. You can become anemic. You can't look at me like that.
I did.
You can't. It's done. It's what we have. You can't do that. Oh my God, she's so strong. Look. Mm-hmm. So, it derails me.
I just did this. You did my thinking look.
That was not a thinking.
I was thinking, all right. Anemic.
So at my worst, which was right before you and I got together, mm-hmm. I had lost a lot of the weight. But I was down to like 120, 115 pounds, depending on the day.
Yeah.
I was ripped. I had an 8-pack. But I was a size 1, not the size 6 I am now for comparative difference. And my hair was falling out. My gums were bleeding. I was riddled with ulcers all the way through my intestinal tract, like from throat all the way through. So I never got far from a bathroom, ever.
No.
I never, ever ate in public because I was too terrified of what would happen after I ate.
Yeah.
Because there's so many times. How many times have we went out to eat somewhere and it was somewhere new and within 20 minutes, we're on our way home because I'm done.
We're finding,
I'm sick.
Yeah. That's the end.
I'm throwing up. Like, last apartment I was at, to the extent of how bad this can be sometimes, now that I have figured out what triggers these issues and what I don't need to eat and what I can eat, bless her heart, she was making chicken spaghetti. And I love me some chicken spaghetti. But there's nothing real in chicken spaghetti other than the chicken. The American pasta is ultra processed. It's heat dried. It's not air dried. I mean, there's enriched flour, and anything that says enriched, it is not good for you because it has chemicals in it that bleaches it and strips all the actual nutrients out of the flour. And then we're not even going to talk about Velveeta.
No.
If you think Velveeta is cheese, it is not cheese. It is a cheese byproduct.
I don't even think it says cheese anywhere on there.
It has cheese product something on it. I remember because I looked at it. But it's not actual cheese.
No, it's not cheese.
It's chemicals that it's Cheese Whiz. It's made to taste like what you think cheese should taste like. Yeah. And it has all sorts of brain chemicals in it that gives you these wonderful endorphins, which might be why I love chicken spaghetti so much. But I knew I didn't need to eat it, and I kept telling her I didn't need to eat it. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll take a bite. And when I say I took a bite, like a soup spoon, not like a little teaspoon, but just a soup spoon, 2 little normal sized lady bites, right? So I took these 2 lady bites, and within 10 minutes, I'm sitting there and I can just feel it just starting to churn. And Miss Becky, who is my dispatcher, she turns around and she looks at me and she goes, "You don't look good." I said, "I don't feel good." She goes, "You're green." I said, "I thought I was." And she's like, "Okay." And she called my partner. She's like, "Hey, you need to 20 the PD." She turned and looked at me. She goes, "Do what you gotta do." And I was in the restroom throwing up for about a half an hour before the next shift came. And I was like, "Hey, Matt, can you cover? Because I'm done for the day." Like that, those 2 little bites of processed food did me in so much I had to leave work for the day because I couldn't stop throwing up. And it's so hard. Like even some of our relatives get aggravated when we don't eat. Like "Hey, we're cooking on Sunday and we'll have a little something before we go over there." And then we'll kind of like picket things so as to not make, because for whatever reason, especially in Southern families, if you're invited to an eating and you're not eating.
Oh, it's a disrespect thing.
It is disrespectful. It is so disrespectful.
Like, no, feelings are hurt.
Feelings are hurt.
And And look, and
even knowing that we can't have a lot of what they cook
Yeah.
because of inflammation, because we keep an anti-inflammatory diet for him too,
which I'm
because
gonna
of his
go
own
over in
issues.
just a minute. Yeah.
But that's just what kind of got us started down that road.
Mhm.
And then learning all we could about our own health led us to learn more about overall health and perspective about diets and food and workouts. Even went back to school and did the whole personal trainer and nutrition specialist thing, and which led us, to deciding to open up our gym in our small town here. And
look, and we go from talking about opening a gym to finding a building and having the gym
no, we
opened.
talked about opening a gym, and I went around town looking at some of the places that were available for purchase. This building wasn't even up for purchase. No signs or nothing on the door. I just knew that what was there in town, I didn't want it because it was too small.
Yeah.
If we were going to do it, I knew we had to do it as right as possible within the means that we had. So we drew out my retirement, intended to buy a house, thought we were going to have a business partner. That completely fell through, which is what led us to opening the gym. It fell through in the middle of opening
Yeah,
the gym.
we were balls deep, and I mean,
it's like, I'm 30,000 in at this point going, well,
nope, this is getting open.
Here we go.
It's opening.
So we had to slow roll it a little bit as far as the things they wanted to do when we first opened, because we didn't have some of the financial backing we thought we were going to have, but we were too far deep in at that point that if we pulled out, we'd have been shit $30,000 out of the window.
So her retirement, my retirement.
Yeah.
And
but then like just all of that.
Yeah. Well, I guess kind of what led me to there. And just full disclosure, I did talk to the two places that I worked where I got injured at, and they asked me not to mention them.
We are under NDAs not to.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
Yeah. And
we're still going to talk about the
Still gonna
circumstances.
talk about it,
we're
but-
just not going to name the circumstances.
But anyway, I got hurt 22 years ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got hurt.
Only way I keep up with is how old August is.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a traumatic back injury. They also asked me not to go into the details too much about it. But anyway, I mean, it's not a secret or anything. They didn't know what this was going to turn into. So they was like, because they don't want to scare anybody away from that profession. And I was like, okay. So, yeah. They're having a hard time getting people to come work. Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's a dangerous job. But anyway, so I fell from a pretty high distance, landed on my butt, destroyed my back. Very long story, condensed down. Took me about a year to learn how to walk again and properly walk again.
We were not together at this point.
No, this is, yeah.
He was married to somebody else. I was married to somebody else. I was working at Yes. Yeah, I was working at the PD at the time.
You was dispatch at the time.
I was dispatch at the time.
Two separate different towns, didn't know about each other. Well,
we grew up together, and the only reason why I knew he had an accident is because my daddy plays in the band with his uncle.
yeah, and so
like at that point, that was the extent of our relationship. Was he's Uncle Bruce's nephew?
Yeah. But anyway, so go through all the rehab, get better, end up getting better to the point where I'm the kind of person that it's very hard for me to just do nothing. And I was on disability, and I was basically, after my kids, which they were smaller at the time, our two oldest went to school, I had nothing, and I was going batshit. Decided to take just a flunky security guard job at a big box store, and that turned into a whole other thing, a whole other profession, from stage security at concerts and festivals to executive security to catch and stop lifters, just a whole thing. But what ended up happening from that was I re-aggravated. Well, okay, back up.
It was all going great.
Yeah.
until a certain point.
While I was hurt the first time, I did weigh over 300 pounds. And I always joke that I don't, and it's not a joke, I don't know how much over 300 pounds I weighed because I got on the scale. It was one of the old scales that did the little bouncy back and forth needle.
And when it bounced to the 300 and started doing this.
Yeah, when I realized it wasn't going to go back under the 300, I said, fuck this, and I got off. Like, I was like, no, I don't want to know.
And before you start asking for pictures, I have tried. His mother has tried. We cannot. The only pictures I have from that particular time frame, the only way you could tell that he was a bigger dude at the time is like he's holding the babies, and they're always like, it's always like this. You cannot see him at all. You see his big sausage fingers, but that's it. Like you barely see his face enough because he kept a big bushy beard at the time, bushier than what he's got now. And he was always seated and behind other things.
Had a hat on. Always had a hat on.
Well, you were seated because you were in a wheelchair.
Yeah. And look, and that was a real dark time. And that's why there's not a lot of pictures of that because
you went from being a semi-pro athlete, the top of your life, to now you're stuck in a wheelchair, dependent on everybody for everything.
Yeah,
he is not a person to be dependent on people. He's always been the person that's always been taking care of people. So for him to get literally knocked on his ass into that position put him in a very, very bad mental state.
Yeah, I am not proud of a lot that happened during that time.
You shouldn't be.
I know. From throwing bedpans, they were empty. There wasn't anything in them. From throwing bedpans at nurses to...
But had you not thrown that one bedpan, you would have never caught the eye and the interest of this amazing doctor that got you to where you are today.
Yeah, and look, and through some experimental stuff, which maybe one day we'll talk about it, but this is just not today. I got back up on my feet. And I got to the point where I was going crazy at home because I didn't have anything to do when the kids were at school. So I picked up a part-time job just being a security guard. And that led to all the other stuff and eventually led to me being an executive.
Let's get back. You didn't get the part-time job being a security guard because you were still on the cane.
Yeah.
You got the part-time job basically as a shelf stalker.
Yeah.
Which through your time there and continuously advancing and getting better led to the security position.
Yeah, which was literally about a month. And the guy that was running security over the store at the time, or loss prevention over the store at the time, he was like, hey, you want a job? I got a job for you. You might like it. You got to watch video and for at least an hour out of the day, because that was the SOPs at the time, you have to stand at the door and greet people. He said, but other than that, you got to watch video. And if somebody steals something, you can't do anything. But if somebody steals something, you get all their information, you get video of them, you get video of them doing it, try to get their car tag, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, just a loss prevention job. So it went from, stocking shelves to that. That eventually led to all kind of other security stuff, which led to when I got so good at my job that
worked yourself out of a job.
I worked myself out of a job. So I had to move to something else. Whenever I moved from the security side of things and loss prevention side of things to like a logistics side of things, that was a totally different work schedule. And I re-aggravated my original injury. Re-aggravated it to the point that...
Re-aggravated the original injury due to accomplishing the tasks that were requested of you and demanded of you by your current employer at the time.
Yeah.
You didn't intentionally re-aggravate your injury by being stupid. You were doing what you had to do to secure your job.
And again, the kind of person I am, there's a job to be done. We're getting it done. And that led to a re-injury, which led to the second NDA from the second employer. So there is a name for what I have, and it's a neurodegenerative disease. It's called arachnoiditis. And what that is there's your spinal column, and it's got a very thin membrane that surrounds it. And I know that looks dirty as shit. It's the membrane that surrounds the spinal column.
You're gonna get us in trouble on that.
Probably. And but it's a very thin membrane, and for whatever reason they call it the arachnoid layer, and I'm sure you probably know. And I've heard it 100 times, and I only have so much bandwidth.
The easiest way to explain it is this: arachnoiditis generally develops whenever somebody encounters, generally, not all the time, but generally, whenever somebody encounters a traumatic back injury that causes leakage of the spinal fluid out into the surrounding areas of the injury. Now, generally, whenever you get injured, scar tissue is going to grow. It's going to encase the area. It's going to do what it does to heal your body, and then it stops, and that's it. The problem is with arachnoiditis is that this particular scar tissue gets this neural fluid or that spills out on it from the spinal fluid. And what it does is it acts like Miracle-Gro on the scar tissue, and the scar tissue will continue to grow. It doesn't stop once it's finished its healing of whatever area. It's basically it's biological tissue that's on crack now, and it's doing what any other crackhead's going to do. It's going to try to find its next fix. So the scar tissue continues to grow, traveling out the only places that it can locate the semblance of this spinal fluid, which is your nervous and your vascular system. So it's going to travel your nerves, it's going to travel your veins and your arteries until it just completely spreads throughout your entire body. And it even will spread to your organs, your heart, your lungs, your intestines, your brain, your eyeballs, which is the later stages of it. It can cause a lot of neuropathy issues. Nerve pain, especially like in your case where a lot of your nerves got mangled from the injury, and instead of being left side nerves, right side nerves, was it left side on the right side? Yeah. Like everything's kind of twisted and balled up in this massive amount of scar tissue. And if you know anything about electrical engineering, whenever two opposing currents strike each other, well, that doesn't work good for anybody. And that's what's constantly happening in his body. It also can cause, especially with any back injury, added effect of your area that's injured the most, separation from your brain and your heart. You'll get muscle atrophication, wastings, where your muscles just don't get enough of current and blood stimulation to where they just start wasting away. No matter how much you work out, no matter what you do.
Just going to happen.
Like, I know some people that could have literally taken and injected steroids into their legs just trying to keep from losing their muscles.
It just doesn't
and
work.
It doesn't work.
And look, and I had the best doctor in probably the Southeast, probably at the time.
I would agree.
I have talked to some of the best doctors that specialize in this
all the way out in
on
California.
The planet. And this is not a flex or a brag. What I'm just going to say next, I hope and pray nobody is ever in this situation, because it is hell sometimes. But none of them can figure out why I'm still upright.
Because the last
and still functioning mentally for what I function for.
Capably and competently functionable is what he said.
If you call what I do capable and competentable.
That's what he said.
But yeah, that's his words.
So the last doctor that looked at your scans, it was, I'll just say it was a doctor in California, and because we don't have their permission to talk about their stuff. And it was a trial study that they were working on that has recently been shut down in portions of it. But at the years that we talked to these doctors, and it's been a couple of years ago now, we sent the last scans that we had from the last time you were at the doctor prior to that. And it was a guy, I can't remember, did you reach out to him or did he reach out to you on social media?
He reached out to me.
Okay. So from the posts that we do about celiacs and arachnoiditis all the time on social media, we've got a pretty decent following between that and all the other stuff that we do. So apparently one of our posts had come across this doctor who's working with the main doctor in this study for this arachnoiditis program, where they're testing how to stop it and how to cope with it. Different pain med treatments, therapy treatments, like they're throwing the works at everybody that'll take it for what their perspective levels are. And so we send him the scans, and he's like, I think we can help. And I had just so happened, because I keep paperwork on everything, had a scan disc and had the paperwork. And then he even got permission to contact his current doctor to get their information. So I send him what I have. His doctor sends him what he has. He brings the paperwork, puts it before the head doctor, and he looked and he goes, "What hospital is this guy in?" And he goes, "That's the thing. He's not in the hospital." What? Told him everything about us, that, we're holding down a business, we're functioning, showed him pictures of what he looked like then. And he's like, "I need to talk to this man." Because apparently we were unaware of this little tidbit information at the time, which really brought it some surreal reality, that the point to where his scans show his progression, which, by the way, it has made it to his brain and his eyeballs. Most of those people are in hospice.
Yeah. And
they're in the hospital, so medicated that they're vegetables, because they can't cope with it.
And I do have to have some full disclosure here. I will screw up stories sometimes.
Yes.
And it's not because I'm lying or trying to purposely screw it up. It's just sometimes the details get muddled.
At the height, before we figured out a routine that works for us for managing your symptoms, when he re-exasperated this original injury, that's whenever I quit my job at law enforcement, because I had a 40-something-year-old husband that was basically like having a Alzheimer's patient that had had a stroke. I was even to the point that I was having to bathe him to some extent on some days. He couldn't put his shoes on. He couldn't put his socks on. Sometimes he couldn't feed himself. These glasses like this, now this one's glass. I would never had this one, but I had plastic cups that had sippers and straws, because he would constantly break our glasses because his depth perception was so off from the arachnoid tissue attacking his optical nerves, that he would either get too close to the table and smash it, or he wouldn't be close enough to the table and think he touched it and drop the glass, and it goes everywhere. So I had him sippy cups. So sometimes that was one of the biggest things, is his cognitive function had begun to fail. And that's when we knew he couldn't go back to work. And that's when I knew that I couldn't afford to pay anybody to take care of him. So we had to step back. So we lost his primary income from his big box. We lost my income from working at the PD. And then all we had was our gym. And we rocked on like that for about 2 years until
it got the bills, the red numbers out.
The last several years have not been financially great for small family-owned businesses, and we'll get in that discussion later.
Yeah.
So
the red numbers were bigger than the black numbers, and we had to make some decisions. I tried everything from selling Avon, selling Mary Kay, my photography, paintings, T-shirts, screen printing, travel agent, call center. I even did like where you'd proofread people's research papers, which I'm pretty decent at. I mean, and they all made us money, but nothing that was comparable to replacing the incomes that we lost, which was just paying our bills. And it come down to the amount of time you were spending on all this other to try to make the ends meet. Yeah, and dealing with me and what I had going on, we had to find something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I even worked for Disney.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Made a whole $500 off of that.
Yeah. After 6 weeks of class.
The problem with that was it was such a long turnaround, because people will book a Disney trip and they might book it 2 years in advance. I don't get paid for that booking until after they complete their trip. And it was just, we weren't in a position
to do that,
to build like that.
With the amount of time, it just become a time and money thing. Like,
white people are awful too. They'll call their friends for travel agent stuff, and they'll want you to work up something. And a few months later, all right, I'll get back to you. And you see them taking the trip that you planned for them, that they don't even have the common courtesy to book with you.
So, but that's the travel agent world. Like, So like I said, it come down to a time and money thing, and so we went in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
We went spicy.
Which led us to the spicy.
We went spicy.
So full disclosure, let's see here. I got started as a Hooters girl, and this was again back years ago. I was in college, being a Hooters girl, and high dollar escort at the time. That paid to keep my clothes on. There wasn't no clothes office situation. So it was just to be arm candy and be intelligent, because when I was at Hooters, I got to meet several businessmen at 19, 20 years old and 21 that knew that I was in college, knew that I was going for criminal justice and criminal psychology because I was working on my doctorate to be a criminal psychologist. Is what I wanted to do. I didn't get to finish it because got pregnant. Anyhow, and so I made a lot of good business acquaintances there that offered me other gigs going and just going.
A date.
Yeah,
they needed a date.
Needed arm candy because they had this is one of my best ones. I won't call his name, but I loved working with him. The particular industry that he was in was pretty ruthless, and he would have a lot of business negotiations. And basically my job was basically to direct the conversation. So the little snippet of my escort things was, because most people see a dude, an older guy come in with this young 20-something arm candy, dumb bimbo, right? I was just there just to be the arm candy bimbo. That was what it was. And so the whole point was we would talk about what the deal was going to be. He would give me some tidbits about the individual that he was going to be meeting at said business meeting. It would be some things like one of the things that they had here in Jackson, Mississippi was Cigars Under the Stars. And that's where these businessmen would get together, this particular restaurant. There was always food, always collaborations, networking. Yeah. And a lot of business deals went down there. And all on the up and up, by the way, legal. So my job, he'd give me the information. He would talk about the deal. He would tell me how he would want the deal to go and how he suspects whoever was going to be trying to get their direction on the deal. And at any point in time that it didn't seem to be going the direction that he wanted it to go, I was to intervene, not to be, the dumb bimbo intervene, but to ask the important questions. So if said person isn't asking a question to lead to an organic answer, it was my job to make it organic.
Yeah, you would ask the question.
He closed so many deals. Yeah.
No.
It's the reason why I was 19, 20 years old, had my own 3-bedroom house, 5 acres of land with a horse arena, rope and chutes, all the works.
So you went from the Hooters and the escort, and then that PD,
and then after I had Cody, I got my first job as dispatcher because I didn't want to go back into that world.
And then that led, but coming from that world, when it was time for us to make a decision about the spicy stuff.
Our friend Lauren, who was already a OnlyFans girl, was like, hey, look, I know you're trying to do this. Because I was just doing boudoir stuff on Patreon. And she went and she looked at some of my stuff and she was like, look, I don't want to push you into anything. She gave me a link to her page, and she got a friend of hers to give me a link to that friend's page. So just go look at our stuff. If it's something you'd be up for, and then she showed me screenshots of what her monthly revenues were. We had a long discussion. You didn't want to go back to dancing, couldn't really. I didn't want to go back to doing all that. But the internet life seemed a lot safer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean... yeah. We talk about some of your exploits, my love.
Well, I was a minor league baseball player. That has nothing to do with other than we were broke. And so I was an A-ball player, nothing huge. You will not find a baseball card with my name on it. I mean, maybe you might. I don't know. But I don't have
I have not found one yet. That club has changed hands so many times. The archives are legit in a vault or a basement somewhere.
And somebody, But anyway.
I couldn't even get team pictures for the years that you were there.
Yeah, because they're gone. This is pre-internet. This is 94. This is pre I mean, the internet was around, but it was dial up. And you listen to the little and anyway, I'm old, but so as an A-ball player, you're not making a lot of money. So it was pretty easy for us in the town we was in to go pick up jobs as bouncers. Super easy. I mean, now during the season, it was a little harder, but whatever. Which led to when I got back home, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. So I decided, okay, I'll do this. I'll bounce for a little while. And it was at one of the local adult clubs. And one night it was supposed to be ladies' night, which anybody that's ever been to a strip club and during ladies' night, the women
We're worse than the
are
men.
worse than the men.
We're
But anyway,
so bad.
So the people that were booked to show up and dance did not show up.
I was going to say, what man's going to be mad?
Well, exactly.
Generally, especially back then, like the dudes in the locker room, and man, I had 12 ladies on me.
Yeah.
And, like, they're not going to be upset. They're not going to be like some women and be like, can you believe he grabbed me? Bitch, what are you out there for?
Yeah, well, and again, this was in '94. It is a completely different world.
Yeah, so don't come after us, try to cancel us right off the bat on that.
Yeah, but so
What happened in the 90s stays in the 90s.
Yeah, the guys that were supposed to dance, and there was only 5 of them, didn't show up, and I cannot remember the reason to this day. And I have thought about it a good bit. I can't remember the reason. They just didn't show up. Yeah, they probably got coked out of their brains and went a different direction. Whatever. So the guy that owned the club, he was panicking. All he had
Because
there,
they were packed.
yeah, packed. Like ladies' night was one weekend or one Saturday night.
And they
a
would
month.
come to Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah.
They would travel over. I remember which guys you're talking about. And they would hit every, like, one night they'd be at Stardust. Next night they'd be at Babes. Then they'd be...
they'd just move around. They'd go to the coast.
All the little
they'd go
clubs
back,
in our area, they'd hit them.
So there was 6 bouncers. 5 guys didn't show up. The owner went through and said, well, what do you think? Can you do it? All right, sure. I mean, great. Sounds like a good idea. The only guy that didn't do it was a 400-pound dude that we could not come up with any other name for him to do this. It just wasn't going to work. Now, he can move his ass, but it wasn't going to work. So the 5 of us that was kind of built at the time, we got up there and we did it.
Because you were just straight from baseball.
Yeah, I was straight from playing baseball. And there was, again, do not know where it came from, cannot remember how it got there, what it was doing there. But anybody that's familiar with wrestling and lucha libre, which is the Mexican wrestling, they wear masks to, it's part of their...
I see a problem here.
It's part of their traditions that they wear masks. There was a lucha libre mask in the dressing room. I got my banana hammock on, my pants on over it, no shirt, and I look over there and I see that lucha libre mask. Now, in the back of my 20-something-year-old brain, all I'm thinking is, man, City of Jackson's been raiding this place pretty fucking often.
And this forethought is the reason why I love my husband so much. He's such a good little Southern boy.
And my grandmother, her purpose in life at the time was to stay up till 10:30 so she could watch the 10 o'clock news. My ass did not want to be escorted out of a strip club without my shirt on and a banana hammock on in front of TV cameras. So, which knowing now, they would have took the mask off of me, but I thought, it's a great idea, I'll put the mask on. I put the mask on, I had a little goatee thing going on, and...
There's not many Southern cops around, especially back then, if you'd have told him why you had that on. Because he'd be like, man, my grandma would be mad too.
Yeah. I probably would have got away with it. But so I put the mask on. Like I said, I had this little goatee thing, and it wasn't gray. It was dark at the time. And one of the guys looked over and went, Mexican Thunder, look at you. That was my stage name. I have 0 Hispanic heritage, none. But
you're dark.
I was dark at the time, and because I just come from playing ball in Texas, and it worked. And so I did that for a while. Fast forward as all that other stuff, the other jobs are getting hurt. And then we're talking about, okay, she gets reached out to about the OnlyFans and Lauren, and we're talking about this, and we're like, well, she looks at me and goes, I don't want to go dance anymore. And I was like, well, I can't dance anymore. So, and plus the men.
That's how desperate we were. Yeah. I was actually thinking about every other weekend when we didn't have kids that I was going to go get a job in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like I was like, well, just go every other weekend. That you can, sit at the hotel or I don't know, don't tell them you're my husband and just sit in there because, significant others are not allowed. If you're a dancer, significant others are not allowed in the club. They're not even supposed to be around the club.
For obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons, because most dudes can't understand that it's a work situation environment.
So we talked about it, and here we are.
Here we are 4 years later.
Mm-hmm. Spicy Page.
Since we started Spicy Pages.
Yeah. So that's kind of us. There we are.
So that's what did you say, the background, the story of where we got to where we are between our health and how it developed into fitness, and then why I quit my job to take care of you because you lost your job. You couldn't work anymore because now you're unhireable.
I'm unhireable.
Unhireable. So whenever those words were uttered in the doctor's office and again the attorney's office, then the same day, I was like, oh my God. And that's when I was like, I'm going to quit my job.
Yeah.
We're screwed. I knew right then when I heard those that statement in the two different settings on the same day that was it. I was like, okay, we got to make some decisions. And
we did. And look, one thing you say about us, we decide to do something, we go balls
deep.
We go. And, and with everything, once we started the Spicy Page, that has, oddly enough, rolled into a little bit of a therapy for other people. And
how many people have come and joined the gym because of finding that page and then going, oh, wait, they own the gym down here.
And that leads into...
And then...
How do you keep a happy marriage? How do you stay in shape? I mean, it leads to all this stuff.
Thanking us for saving their marriages.
Now...
That's the one that kicks me the most.
We do not advertise at the gym at all. There is a select group of people.
Separate life.
Yeah, there's a select group of people that know it, and that's it.
Social media is really the only place where we tied them in together, and that's just on our perspective pages. The gym website itself, we keep it completely separate. When we post stuff, we don't even tag our other social medias. Like he posts something, he doesn't tag himself in it from his social Instagram. I post something, I don't tag my personal Instagram. And it's just because even in a small town, it's the worst kept secret.
Yeah.
Everybody will know, but not everybody will talk about it. And it's that thing, as long as you stay within a certain bubble of things, nobody really freaking cares. Now, some people act like they do, but they really don't. And it's a little hard. And then other people that would care, I mean, hell, half of them won't come to the gym anyhow.
Yeah, they don't. So, but so that's us.
Yeah. So that gets us to where we're at and trying to get back on with the podcast and stuff. And
look, and what we want this podcast to be probably won't be what it turns into be. No. That's kind of the way things work.
I mean, this is a little bit more on the serious side than what we intend on doing, but there's a lot of the next couple ones, we just got a lot of information that we want to get out there as far as it goes and to build it up. But like I said, that's us. That's where we come from. So for those of you who don't know, there you go.
There you go.
And what you have to look forward to is us talking more about some of our spicier stories from our youthful experiences. Let's see here, health, fitness, new information that we have at the time, things, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if we'll have other fitness individuals on the podcast. I would love to discuss about that. We have a couple of friends that are going to come and sit on the podcast with us, and that's, where more of the savage part comes in, because once you get all of us together, probably going to have a lot of editing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of those friends that we have to let people know we have company in the gym whenever we're in there in the mornings. And then the other is because one of the biggest things that we get since we made a decision, a very heartfelt decision, because we knew once we went down that road of the OnlyFans stuff that it wasn't one that we were going to turn back, because we couldn't turn back, especially in our area. I knew I would never be in law enforcement again, because I just don't know of any department. I know me as a chief, if I was a chief, I wouldn't want to hire somebody.
You'd be a hard hire, yeah.
I wouldn't want to. And then I would, even to where I'm at right now, I would question anybody that wanted to hire me.
Like, why are you hired? Yeah.
The only
what kind of shape are y'all in? How bad is it?
So the only thing I could say is like, look, if you're okay with it, you can take a look at my page. I have nothing to hide. There's no scandal, but I understand your reservation and wanting to hire me because not everybody's going to be willing to investigate further past that. Because I've had it out with some attorneys over that before. Like, oh, we're aware of your history. I'm like, have you looked at it? And don't fucking say something to be about what you're aware of. But I understand that. I knew that once we went down this road,
we become toxic.
That was it. That was it. We would be labeled as toxic. And the worst part about it is, and I'm going to drop a name just because she's been on all over social media here lately, but I'm not attacking this person, so nobody fucking get over me on it. But like, people give people who are OnlyFans creators such shit on social media and online when we're just out here trying to do like everybody else and fucking survive, dude. Yeah. Like, we're moms, we're dads, we have families, we're daughters, we're sons, we're mothers, we're fathers. And we're just trying to do what we can do within what we were allowed, because some of us went in this decision because it's blown up over the last 4 years for obvious fucking reasons.
Yeah.
All of this transpired over the last 4 years under the last administration. Say what you will, I'm not getting a political confrontation about this shit. But the last 4 years have been fucking horrible, especially for small family-owned individuals. And we have a lot of friends that have businesses that have lost their livelihoods because they weren't willing to do what they had to do to survive. Yeah. And I'm not saying it's a great road for anybody to go down. I've had several young ladies contact me from the area that be like, I just love you. You're an inspiration. I'm like, first off, honey, what I do isn't anything that you should be inspired by. You're young. Don't look into this. You need to go get an education. You need to do everything you can before you get married and you start having children to set yourself up so you don't have to make the decision that I did. We made the decision that we did because we had to. Mm-hmm. We had exhausted every other option in a political climate where there were no jobs and everybody was locked down.
Yeah. Everything was stacked against us. And look, like, and I know that some people out there during the whole lockdown thing and all that had their bills taken care of or
not
whatever,
everybody did.
But not businesses, not especially small businesses, especially gyms. Gyms were the worst. They were horrible.
So
there were days we sit on our couch in our gym with no fucking people in there.
Our homeless living in a bus.
Yeah.
We were living in a fucking bus.
And we were sitting there with our doors locked, looking at our phone, listening to the fucking governors talk about what can open tomorrow.
By the way, if you didn't know, Mississippi was the last state for gyms to open up nationally.
Yeah. So, and look, and that's all. Whatever.
Our processor wouldn't even process our payments, even though our customers was trying to give us money. Like, there was a lot of weeks there that the only way we put groceries on our table is because we did have customers that came by and gave us cash. Like, that was the only reason. And it was at that point that we made the decision.
We got to do something.
We got to do something. And it's not for everybody. We're aware.
And look, and people don't understand the amount of work that goes into it either.
Oh my God.
And we'll get into that in later podcasts and that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what we go to is like, you know, the freak savage thing is we're going to have savages and we're going to have freaks and you never know. And it's going to be a special thing every day.
Yeah. It's gonna be our
But
special little circus.
I want to reach out, and if y'all know any of creators that are like us that you would love to see us talk to on the podcast, share this with them. Drop their name or comment, in the comment section here. Hit me up on Instagram. Let me know, because I've got several friends that are creators that I am going to be reaching out to. Wanted to get a few episodes under our belt to get it going.
Yeah, this is number 1, so
Number
this is
one.
going to get better as it goes. And
Because
yeah, what the fuck?
all of our stuff has no direction
Yeah.
when we start it. We just jump in and go, fuck it.
We're going that way, and then we go, nah, let's go that way. Okay, let's go that way.
And somebody's going to pull a Star Wars thing. Like, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah,
Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it usually turns out great in the end.
and we make it work. So, but
We're great with shit sandwiches.
yeah. But that's what you can look forward to. And I know this will run about an hour or so,
It's
hour
fine.
and 15. That's what you can look forward to. If you have any ideas, let us know. I'm not saying we'll take them, but, it might lead to something else.
But like I said, we want to have other like-minded creators
Yeah.
because we're not all like the Bonnie Blues.
Look, not everybody that does Spicy Page stuff has a bad relationship with their family, hates their life, is somewhat suicidal. I don't know. Every joke you can come up with, because that's what the
Out there,
OnlyFans.
they're out there doing hookup dates,
Yeah,
racking up the body counts. Not everybody's like that.
that's what the OnlyFans jokes have become the
That's-
Nickelback jokes. Like, everybody's got a Nickelback joke, and every comedian, if you listen to every comedian, at some point in time they tell a Nickelback joke.
But
if you listen to
everybody
them,
secretly loves
but everybody loves Nickelback. Same thing with the OnlyFans stuff or the Spicy Page stuff. Everybody's got a Spicy Page joke.
Yep.
But a lot of them are purchasing Spicy Pages
Or thought about doing one of
or
their
thought
own.
about doing one of their own.
We've seen a massive increase just this last 6 months alone. Massive fucking increase.
Yeah.
People coming into the industry.
And like I said, I don't think anybody realizes how much work is involved.
Mm-mm.
So now it's not horrible work.
I mean, you get to work with your wife all day.
Exactly. And it's great. And she's my best friend, and I'd be completely lost without her.
Oh,
I know, right? Sweet. But no, it's the truth. And there's not too many human beings I can hang out with all day and look forward to hanging out with them again tomorrow.
there's not too many human beings that would want to hang out with you all day.
You don't have to stay at making that face. All right. But anyway.
But that's it. Like, we want like fitness, health, all that good stuff, telling stupid stories about things that we've done in the past. Because ball player, bull rider, rodeo queen, all that good stuff. And then having other creators on here to share their stories and basically just
Yeah.
humanizing it to giving us all a community to go to.
I'm trying to show a little bit of the real side behind it because, as you talked about in the beginning, I mean, there are creator gyms out there where some of the OnlyFans girls go to work out with their $500 leggings and their $400 sports bra, and so there's a lot of fake, and I get
And
it.
their rubber weights.
And their rubber weights,
Their
their
rubber
fake weights.
weights.
And I get it. We live in a world where, that kind of sells, but do want to show
That's
the
why
more
we
real
don't.
side.
Yeah, that's
of
why we
stuff.
don't do any of that.
Because that's
I don't want to do all that. I don't want to do all of the fake vacations or taking a picture on an airplane. Knowing damn good and well I ain't on a damn airplane.
I'd have to sedate your ass to get you on an airplane.
Fly private.
But anyway, so yeah, just bringing the real side in and see what happens.
That'll be it.
So there you go.
So,
That's number 1 in the books.
number 1 in the books. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There, for some of you who have asked, who haven't heard the whole backstory of how we've gotten started, that's it. We dropped it here on episode 1 of the Freak Savage Show. And of course, I'll let y'all figure out who the freak and who the savage is.
Depends on the day. It depends on the day.
It does.
It depends on the day. It depends on the moment.
I could push a few buttons
I can too.
to make the savage become a freak. Y'all have an absolute wonderful day. And as always, drop that stuff in the comments. Let us know what you want to hear about next. And put all the good vibes back out into the world you want to receive back. Bye.